Who taught you, not by perfection, but by presence, how to stay human in a divided world? Hi, friends. Welcome to Light Bearers. This is a space where we tell the truth about people who lived as light, not because they were flawless or always easy or neatly categorized, but because they chose presence over distance and connection over retreat. Today, I want to tell you about another one of my light bearers, and this one might surprise you. He was my maternal grandfather, who my cousins and I all called Papa. We're from the South. If you were trying to label Papa, you might struggle. He would not have fit neatly into most people's definitions of religious or even Christian. He could be sharp-edged. He had a temper, one he freely admitted got the better of him on occasion. And yet, he moved through the world with a deep, unmistakable desire to connect with people. While he eventually became a chief engineer on an oil tanker, his early life was far from that. He began life in rural Louisiana, and his life was hugely impacted by one pivotal event. His mother passed away when he was quite young, and he was forced to quit school in the 4th grade and go to work with migrant farm laborers in the area. But in God's economy, nothing goes to waste. And in that experience, he met all kinds of people from all over the country, the world, who were doing the same kind of work he was. And seeing the scope of humanity, he learned appreciation for other people's experiences, for other people's cultures, for other people's uniqueness. While that experience laboring in the farms gave him this beautiful connection to humanity, it also took away his ability to get an education. So Papa taught himself. He would read Shakespeare and poetry and history books with the book on the table and a dictionary in his lap. That drive and resilience enabled him to make a career on a ship, eventually achieving that status as the chief engineer without any formal education. He took those gifts from his time working on the farms and brought them with him as he spent his life moving between ports and cultures and strangers from all over the world. And everywhere he went, he paid attention to the people under his command, to the people working alongside him, to the people he met briefly and might never see again. He was curious about people, not as ideas, but as unique stories. This curiosity was so central to who he was that he wore it on his body. On his left wrist, just above where his watch band rested, he had a tattoo of 2 hands shaking, a permanent mark of connection. In all that time, being self-taught, reading all that poetry, he found that his favorite poem was one by Sam Walter Foss called "The House by the Side of the Road." It's a poem about choosing presence over distance, about living close enough to others to know them, about not living apart, judging who passes by, but about standing close enough to offer companionship. That was how my grandfather, my pawpaw, wanted to live. He wanted to know the people that passed by. He wanted to know their names, their stories, their contradictions, being a man of contradiction himself. My pawpaw would not have called himself a missionary by any stretch of the imagination, and yet, looking back, I can see that he carried light. Not because he was gentle all the time, and not because he had all the answers, but because he refused to reduce people to enemies. He chose proximity over suspicion. He chose relationship over retreat. Scripture tells a story like that. Jesus describes a moment on the side of the road where the expected heroes pass by, and the one who stops is a Samaritan, a person distrusted, written off, dismissed. Elsewhere, Jesus heals the servant of a Roman centurion, an occupying enemy, and he marvels not at the man's power, but at the man's faith. Even while being arrested, Jesus restores the ear of a man who came to bind him. Scripture bends towards mercy. Scripture lends towards making connections, not enemies. My grandfather lived there, not perfectly, but persistently. You see, to live as light does not mean pretending that harm hasn't been done. It doesn't mean abandoning wisdom or discernment. But it does mean refusing to surrender our humanity to fear. It means remembering that every person was created on purpose, for a purpose. My grandfather taught me that light doesn't always come wrapped in softness. Sometimes it looks like just staying curious, staying present, choosing to live by the side of the road, close enough to be changed by the people who pass through our lives. And so I want to remind you of our reflection for today. Who taught you, not by perfection, but through presence, how to stay human in a divided world? And where might you be invited to move a little closer instead of standing safely apart, distant from your fellow man? Thank you for spending this time with me. This is Light Bearers, part of Hope Lit, and we're learning together to live close enough to reach the light of others. Thank you, those of you who have stayed to the end. I would like to now present to you my grandfather's favorite poem, The House by the Side of the Road by Sam Walter Foss. There are hermit souls that live withdrawn in the peace of their self-content. There are souls like stars that dwell apart in a fellowless firmament. There are pioneer souls that blaze their paths where highways never ran. But let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. Let me live in a house by the side of the road where the race of men go by, the men who are good and the men who are bad, as good and as bad as I. I would not sit in the scorner's seat, nor hurl the cynic's ban. Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. I see from my house by the side of the road, by the side of the highway of life, the men who press on with the ardor of hope, the men who are faint with the strife. But I turn not away from their smiles nor their tears, both parts of an infinite plan. Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. I know there are brook-gladdened meadows ahead and mountains of wearisome height, that the road passes on through the long afternoon and stretches away to the night. But still, I rejoice when the travelers rejoice and weep with the strangers that moan. Nor live in my house by the side of the road like a man who dwells alone. Let me live in my house by the side of the road, where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, so am I. Then why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. I hope this poem and this message stays with you today and brings you pause to think about your walk, your light, and those of others around you. See you next time.